What if the most important question in a murder trial isn't whether the defendant killed her children, but whether she was capable of understanding what she was doing when it happened? That's the extraordinary question now facing a Massachusetts jury in the Lindsay Clancy trial, where the defense and prosecution agree on the central act, but sharply disagree on what was happening inside Clancy's mind at the time. The trial continued Wednesday in Plymouth Superior Court, and jurors heard from forensic psychologist Dr. Paul Zeizel, a defense expert who evaluated Clancy extensively after the deaths of her 3 young children. Zeizel testified that, in his professional opinion, Clancy was suffering from bipolar disorder with postpartum psychosis and that the condition left her unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of her actions or conform her behavior to the law. That testimony goes directly to the heart of the defense. Clancy has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of her children, Cora, Dawson and Callan, who were between 8 months and 5 years old. The defense isn't arguing that the children weren't killed. Instead, attorneys are arguing that Clancy was experiencing a severe psychiatric episode and should not be held criminally responsible because she could not fully understand reality or control her actions. And this is where the case becomes much more complicated than a simple question of guilt or innocence. Zeizel told jurors that Clancy reported hallucinations and intrusive thoughts, and he said her mental illness had reached a level consistent with postpartum psychosis. He also testified that he had met with her more than 60 times since the killings, giving him an unusually extensive opportunity to evaluate her condition. But prosecutors are challenging that conclusion. Their argument is that Clancy's behavior surrounding the killings shows planning and awareness, rather than a complete break from reality. Prosecutors have presented evidence about her online searches, her treatment history and the circumstances leading up to the deaths, arguing that she had opportunities to seek help and that her actions were deliberate. That disagreement is critical because Massachusetts law allows jurors to consider the circumstances surrounding an alleged crime when deciding whether a defendant was criminally responsible. The legal question isn't simply whether someone has a mental illness. The jury must consider whether a mental defect substantially affected the person's ability to appreciate the wrongfulness of the conduct or to conform that conduct to the requirements of the law. And postpartum psychosis itself is an important part of this story. Massachusetts health officials describe it as a psychiatric emergency that can involve hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, rapid changes in mental status and extreme mood changes. The condition is rare, affecting roughly 1 to 2 people per 1,000 births, but it can become dangerous very quickly and requires immediate treatment. The prosecution, however, has pointed to details they believe don't fit the defense's description of Clancy's mental state. During the trial, prosecutors questioned Zeizel about hospital records and Clancy's behavior after the killings, including evidence they say suggested she could perform ordinary activities and didn't always display the level of confusion or grief they would expect from someone experiencing a continuous psychotic state. Zeizel disputed that interpretation and maintained that someone can perform routine tasks while still suffering from severe psychosis. That clash between medical interpretation and observable behavior may ultimately become one of the most important battles of the entire trial. The jury isn't being asked to decide whether postpartum psychosis exists. It is being asked whether that condition actually prevented Clancy from understanding the wrongfulness of her actions or controlling her behavior on the day her children died. The case has already included deeply emotional testimony from family members and medical experts, while prosecutors and defense attorneys continue presenting very different pictures of the months leading up to January 24, 2023. Earlier testimony has included claims that Clancy experienced worsening mental health symptoms, suicidal thoughts, and fears about harming herself or her children, while prosecutors have emphasized evidence they say demonstrates planning and intent. There is also a major consequence hanging over the jury's eventual decision. If Clancy is convicted of first-degree murder, she faces life in prison. If she is found not guilty because she was not criminally responsible due to mental illness, the outcome would instead involve psychiatric hospitalization rather than simply walking out of the courtroom. For now, though, no verdict has been reached, and the trial is still unfolding. Wednesday's proceedings ended earlier than expected because of what the judge described as an unforeseen circumstance, and testimony is continuing Thursday. At the center of everything is a question that is both legal and deeply human. When a person's mind is severely distorted by mental illness, where does responsibility begin and end? The Lindsay Clancy trial is forcing a jury to confront that question while weighing evidence from doctors, family members, investigators, and the defendant's own history. And as the defense presents its case, the answer could determine not only Clancy's future, but how this devastating case is ultimately understood. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Prime Wire, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest news. Thanks for watching.